No one here but us chickens.
Hold on, I just gotta adjust my light in here.
What is this switch?
Wow, it's gonna be so bright in here. Excuse me, you're getting my tiles dirty.
Oh, yeah, they're very dirty. White tiles, dark grout are the worst.
So what's the trick? You literally just filling in the gaps?
Fill in the gaps, go diagonals.
What, diagonals?
This way.
So I found a bunch of peaches on the Flash Food app that I've talked about before. It's where the grocery store is getting rid of food that's gonna quote unquote go bad soon. I've had these peaches in my fridge for over a week and a half and been waiting for them to get more ripe so that way I could cut them open pretty easily and get their cores out. So they are finally ready, and some of them are a little bit past ready, but we'll still use them. So I started out by researching how I wanted to can them because I love canned peaches. I don't really like frozen. So I found this website that gives you really simple, like checked recipes that are like certified as safe. So I decided to pressure can mine. You can water bath them. I'll put the link down below for the website that I'm using, and it's just like straightforward, very simple recipes and how you can can. I love to can with as little or no sugar as possible, especially when it's something already sweet. So this is a great option if you don't want to add sugar to your fruit. So I just started by slicing them in half. I followed just that natural ridge that goes around them, like a crack around it, and I cut them open, and then you just kind of spin them and it pops wide open. And then I took out the cores and peeled them. I did look at a lot of methods of how to boil them. I even tried it, and I found it was a mess. It did not work well for me where the skins did not just want to peel off. So I just took some time, took a really sharp knife and peeled them. And then the bowl of water and lemon juice is just to keep them from discoloring while you're getting all of the rest of the peaches prepped and ready to go. So the next thing I did was drain off all of the lemon juice water off of the peach slices, and then I put the peach slices into a big pot on my stove. I just used my Dutch oven because that's what I had clean and ready to go. And then I added clean, fresh water to it. You could start with warm water if you want, but you're gonna basically bring your peach slices up to a boil, and then you're gonna take them off the heat. Whenever you're canning, whether you're pressure canning or water bath canning, you always want to start with really clean jars. You can use your jars year to year. You just want to check for any kind of nicks or cracks that might cause them to explode or to break while you're canning them. It does happen. Sometimes it's the quality of the jar. Sometimes there's something you miss. I made sure to add a bunch of water in with the peaches, more than I probably actually ended up needing, but I wanted to make sure I had enough of their juice water to add on top of the peaches. So basically when you're canning anything, you have a standard measurement of how far to keep your produce from the lip of the jar. And in this instance, it called for about 1 inch. So I love having this metal funnel because it just saves a million years in time trying to get whatever you're canning actually into the jar. So I like to get as much produce into the jar before I add my liquid, and then I go back and add liquid afterwards until it's all filled up, and you want the liquid above whatever produce you're canning. And there's no sugar in this recipe. It's literally just the peaches brought to a boil in their own water, and that creates a little bit of a juice. You can add some sugar to it if you'd like, but my preference is just the less sugar the better. You want to make sure once you've already filled the jars up with your fruit and liquid that you go around with a knife or a canning tool and just poke around the edges. You want to make sure you're getting all the air bubbles out of the jars. And then it's good to take a clean cloth and just wipe the rims off. This helps give you a better chance of a good seal with your actual canning lid. Sometimes if there's a little bit of sticky stuff or juice or anything on the lip of the jar, it will prevent the canning lid from actually getting a good seal on there.
Yeah! Lovely.
Every pressure canner is a little bit different, but you just want to follow the manual that comes with it. Mine is a weighted gauge versus a pressure gauge, which just means you have to know your altitude, which you can find out pretty easily just by Googling your area on a map, and it will show you your altitude. And then that tells you what weight you need to do different pressure canning projects at. When you open your pressure canner, the best tip I've ever heard is always open it away from you. Don't open it towards you because the steam can literally take off your eyebrows. Well, probably not actually, but it feels like it can. So open it up the opposite way. And your processing time, if you're pressure canning peaches, is about 10 minutes depending on your elevation. So just make sure you check that out before you start your project. It's going to be tempting to want to tap the tops of each of your jars to see if they sealed, but you want to wait at least 24 hours to give it a chance to get its full seal. And then after 24 hours, just give a quick little tap on top. And then you remove all of the rings. Contrary to popular belief, you don't actually store your cans with the rings on. It can actually get rested onto the jars, and there's no need to store them with the rings on. While I was preparing the peach slices to be canned, there was a couple that were super soft, so I decided to put those aside to make a little bit of a peach cobbler or peach crumble. I started with 1 cup of oatmeal. I used gluten-free, but you can use regular. And then 3/4 of a cup of walnuts. You can add a bit more if you wanted it to have a more nutty taste. Then I used 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I would probably actually reduce it down to 2 teaspoons. That just depends on how citrusy you like that little tang in there. Then I ended up total putting in about 3 or 4 pinches of salt. I just used what I had on hand, which is some pink Himalayan salt. You can probably use just about any salt you want. And also you can omit the salt, but I like that as a nice balance to the sweet, as I don't like things too sweet. And then for my sweetener, I use something called brown rice syrup. It's really good for not being too hard on your blood sugar, so that's what I used. You could definitely use honey or reduce it a little bit and use just a bit less maple syrup because it's runnier. I've found sweeteners and desserts like this are pretty versatile, but I would use probably something pretty sticky like a honey because it is a nice binder for this topping. The less sticky you use, just the more crumbly it will be, so it's just up to your taste. It just takes a couple of quick blitzes, and I use the spatula to push it down some. And that's pretty much it. And it is one of the tastiest crumbles I've ever discovered. And the other option you can use cashew nuts instead of walnuts. You can really mix it up and do whatever you want. I find cashew nuts bring a whole other flavor to it and a creaminess. And if you've ever made like vegan cheeses, you know how creamy cashews can actually get. So this is just a very simple, very non-specific measured recipe. This is pretty much how I cook. So sorry for everybody who likes like specific measurements. Oh, and for the brown rice syrup, I used roughly about 3.5 to 4 tablespoons. You could definitely put in more. You could definitely put in less. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing how we used the peaches. And I would just encourage you, you don't have to can like 50 jars at once. You can just put up a little bit at a time, and it does start to rack up, and you'll have a lot more in your pantry than you realize you will.